So we've been chatting for about 45 minutes and we've decided to actually hit that record button. Why not? Because what we're looking at is what is the psychological value and what is the financial value of a given agile practice. And an agile practice, for example, in this case, is something like a stand-up or a retrospective or whatever. So, it could be it's within one or two or three or 20 frameworks, but it's a practice that we know works. So we started talking about that, which is why we've hit the record button. So, and we mentioned the psychological value of, and you started talking, Michelle, about a little mini case study that you had.
Yeah. Before that, I want to make a little bit of historical context about the daily stand-up, of daily meeting, or daily huddle, or daily scrum, as you want to call it. I remember Jeff Sutherland when I went first for the Scrum certification many years ago. Scrum comes from observing other practices, so mainly from the lean world. And the lean world was where of observing other practices and taking it into a bag. And I think, and I will come later on that after having discussed about that case study, that the daily Scrum is widely misunderstood in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. So the daily Scrum, that is a meeting that you have for 50 minutes every morning, more or less, where you ask 3 questions, what have you done yesterday, what have you achieved yesterday? That was the original intention of Jeff Sutherland. What will you achieve today? What are your impediments? Misses one standard and mandatory question that is in every daily stand-up that comes from the lean world. How do you feel today?
Interesting.
And that's why I have to make this context. Now, I was very surprised going and visiting the American school in Naples. I was visiting it to understand how they were doing, what was the quality of the school. And when they were explaining about all the nice things that they do there, this is an international school where usually some of people in the military go, but there are a lot of different culture coming from all over the world. One of the practices that they have implemented there, I think that they have implemented 2, but one that for sure they have implemented is the daily stand-ups. So they have daily stand-ups every morning between teachers and children and pupils and people and students there, because they are different ages, so they are going up to high school. And among the benefits that they have observed, they started doing it during the lockdown, so it started to, let's see what is going on from home, but now they are doing it in presence, as that it was enormous reduction of the bullying. So bullying is dramatically reduced in the school. No, I don't think there was a lot before, but they manage it completely differently. They were able to reduce enormously the stress of the children, because children say, okay, I did this, I will do that, and these are my impediments. They have the transparency to talk about the things that are not working well for them, so they can tackle those problems right away. And how are they feeling that day? So everything is transparent. So usual that is an example, that is a case study, but we can count. This is the newest case study that I was surprised to find in a school. Very positively surprised. To come back to really to the elements of what is the positive value of a daily meeting. If you look only at Scrum, usually the daily Scrum, what they say is to build a team, and that is true. You use it to build the team. So everyone is supporting each other.
Yes.
With that extra question that comes from lean, you're also taking care at a different psychological level of the feeling of others. Yeah, no, a lot of people say when the first time that I'm implementing it in companies and in groups is, but people will not be honest about their feelings. Not true. You will be surprised after a while how honest people are about their feelings. Sometimes even too honest. And that is the good thing. Then you can step up the game. And one element that they put psychologically, you're building the team, you're having people taking care of other people's emotions, but you can reinforce the psychology of the team if you add other elements and tools coming from positive psychology, like really understanding the other person that is next to you. And usually with that, you go into something that is a topic that we will cover sometime else. That is, if you remember, we did it in London when we were working together. Is the topic of the positive strengths. Because if you really know your people, the people that are working with you, what are their positive strengths, and you are having the daily meeting, and you know what is going on with them, that you can really use that as a tool to help them flourish into the organization with the daily meeting. That is a strength, the superpower of daily meetings, the psychological building. I really wonder how many Scrum team do that or think at daily meetings, daily Scrum in this way. So I will really be surprised I would really love to know how many are doing it in this way and how many are doing it in a different way that maybe is even better than what I think or what we think.
Yes, exactly.
It is a good way. And you, from your point of view and experience?
And well, from my point of view, looking at what you've described there, what is the psychological value, if there is such a thing, what is the psychological value of, in this case, the daily stand-up? And I suppose very quickly we want to follow that up with what is the financial value, what is the financial benefit of the same thing, and can we measure it? Now, as you were talking, immediately I am thinking about, well, if you take a group of people, and this is a study done by Harvard Business Review, you take a group of people who are satisfied staff members, colleagues, you engage them, you get them to a level where they feel engaged, they're going to be 45% more productive. You've probably seen, I've talked about this in my videos. If they're inspired, they are 125% more productive than just the satisfied colleague, right? So just there, looking at that, there is maths, there is money that is being created just by the things you talked about, and that's before we actually then start to see the impact of that. But thinking about it logically, if somebody is, let's say, 100% more productive, therefore you are getting twice as much out of that team, right? Or you could do the same with half the team.
Absolutely.
Both of which have a massive financial impact. But of course, then you realize that it's not just 125%, because when we start looking at other examples, it's 10 times, not 2 times, it's 20 times, not just 2 times. And those things just start to, and the spiral is just, it goes crazy, right? Because
I really like what you're saying. Can I support what you're saying? Because a lot of people that hear this for the 10 times, or they've read about this, how is it possible that you can improve things in a team that first they were producing 100, and now you're telling me that just by doing a couple of things they are producing 150, and I'm telling you that you can even go to 700. How is it that possible? I was even skeptical about that. The simple answer to that is, how many things a team is doing during the day that should not be done at all?
Absolutely.
Just by cutting that, you get to 700%.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that is what a lot of people do not see. Do not see before they are doing it. And even after they have reached that level, they struggle to see that they have reached that level by avoiding all that waste that they had before.
Exactly. Absolutely right. And I think this is the interesting point about when we start talking about the practices of Agile, because within looking at, for example, the stand-up, you're then tackling many other elements. You're tackling reporting, you're tackling milestone management, you're tackling all of those other things that need to be tackled. But also there are so many examples where by having a daily stand-up, instead of a weekly or a monthly meeting, status update meeting, you catch things which are going wrong immediately. And you can fix them immediately before it becomes a problem. If I find out that, if I could help change something today, I could change it tomorrow. If I'm waiting until whenever, like the next meeting where I get approval, blah, 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 and so it goes on. So this is exactly what we're talking about. And I think by looking at each of these elements, each of these practices from a psychological perspective, from a finance perspective, we will see that it just makes sense to apply these things. And we are doing all of this, and we're not increasing risk, and we're not reducing governance. We are actually making the whole thing work better, which is why, as you say, let's get those examples where we go from, not 2 times, not 3 times, but 10, 20, 30, 700 times, because we all have the capacity to innovate and to problem solve and to do that. Amazing.
Amazing. Fantastic.